Hey guys, welcome back to Sleeping Stone Whispers Crescent Moon. Tonight's story, The Hidden Truths of Victorian Office Life, gently carries you into a world of slow clocks, quiet desks, and endlessly repeated routines, where nothing dramatic happens, and that's exactly the point. Through soft narration and unhurried details, you'll drift through long workdays filled with ink-stained fingers, wooden stools, and the calming monotony of paperwork. There are no sudden moments here, only the steady rhythm of ordinary life designed to relax your mind. Let the stillness settle in, let your thoughts slow down, and allow sleep to arrive naturally. If you enjoy peaceful, boring stories that help you unwind and fall asleep, please like this video, subscribe to Sleeping Stone Whispers, and turn on notifications. Your support helps keep these quiet stories coming night after night. The day begins long before anything truly happens. The sky above the city is pale and undecided, neither dark nor bright, resting in a soft gray that feels unfinished. Cobblestone streets are still damp from the night air, and the sound of footsteps is rare enough to feel important, though it never is. A Victorian office building stands quietly among others like it, tall, narrow, and entirely unremarkable, waiting patiently for another day that will closely resemble the last. Inside, the office is still asleep in its own way. Wooden desks line the room in careful rows, their surfaces bare except for faint scratches left by years of use. Chairs are pushed in neatly, as if they have not moved at all through the night. Ledgers sit closed and heavy, their pages filled with numbers that once mattered deeply to someone, though no one remembers who. The air smells faintly of dust, old paper, and drying ink, a scent so familiar that it is almost comforting. Slowly, one key turns in a lock downstairs. The sound echoes briefly and then disappears. A single clerk enters, removing his hat and placing it in the same spot it was placed yesterday, and the day before that. He does not rush. There is no reason to. The office does not reward speed, only consistency. He lights no fire yet, opens no book, and speaks to no one. Instead, he simply exists in the space, allowing the morning to stretch out around him. As more clerks arrive, one by one, the room fills not with conversation, but with quiet presence. Coats are hung. Chairs are adjusted. Sleeves are rolled just enough to feel proper. No one looks at the clock, because everyone already knows what time it is supposed to be. The day has begun, though nothing has truly started, and in this slow, predictable stillness, the Victorian office settles gently into another long, uneventful morning. The morning continues without urgency. Outside the tall windows, the light changes almost imperceptibly, shifting from pale gray to a softer, diluted gold. It does not brighten the room so much as confirm that time is moving forward, slowly and without concern for those inside. The office accepts this light quietly, letting it fall across desks and ledgers without reaction. More clerks arrive, each one entering in nearly the same manner. The door opens, closes, and then opens again, repeating a familiar rhythm that requires no attention. Boots are wiped carefully, though the floor never seems cleaner for it. Hats are placed on hooks in a precise line, forming a silent record of attendance. No greetings are exchanged beyond the slightest nods, gestures so small they could easily be missed. Each clerk makes the same short journey to their desk. The path is known so well that it no longer feels like movement. Chairs are pulled back with minimal sound, adjusted by habit rather than thought. Sleeves are straightened, cuffs checked, and fingers briefly rest on the desk surface, as if acknowledging its presence before the work begins. The room remains quiet, not because silence is enforced, but because nothing requires speech. Papers stay stacked. Ledgers remain closed. Pens are lined up and untouched. The office is now fully awake, yet still inactive, holding itself in a state of readiness that feels permanent. In this moment, before any task truly begins, the clerical world feels complete. Everything is in place. Everyone is present. And the day, long and predictable, stretches calmly ahead, asking only for patience and repetition. At a certain point, though no signal announces it, the clerks begin to prepare for work. This preparation is not hurried, nor is it spoken aloud. It unfolds through a series of small, familiar actions repeated every morning without variation. Hands reach into coat pockets and produce small metal keys, each one worn smooth by years of use. One by one, desk drawers are unlocked. The sound is soft and dull, a muted click followed by the gentle scrape of wood against wood. Nothing surprising waits inside. Pens lie exactly where they were left the evening before. Loose papers are stacked neatly, edges aligned with careful indifference. A ruler rests beside an ink bottle, both untouched since yesterday. Some drawers resist slightly, as if remembering the effort required. The clerk applies just enough pressure to remind it who is in charge, then lets it open fully. No frustration shows on any face. This resistance is expected, almost comforting in its consistency. It proves that the drawer is still the same, unchanged, reliable. Ink bottles are checked, though they rarely need refilling. Lids are loosened and set aside. Blotting paper is straightened, even when it is already straight. Each motion is slow, deliberate, and unnecessary to rush. There is no advantage in finishing early. By the time every desk stands open and ready, the room has changed very little. Yet the ritual is complete. The office has moved one small step forward, settling deeper into the rhythm of the day, where time stretches long and every task waits patiently to be done again. With drawers now open, attention turns naturally to the objects that will occupy the hours ahead. Ink bottles sit heavy and dark on the desks, their glass sides catching just enough light to reveal how much remains inside. No one is pleased or disappointed by the level of ink. It is simply noted and accepted, as it always is. Ledgers are lifted slowly, as though they require respect for their weight alone. When placed on the desk, they make a soft, solid sound, a reminder of how much time has already been recorded within their pages. The covers are worn smooth at the corners, and the spines bend easily, trained by years of opening to the same familiar sections. Paper is stacked carefully, even when it was already stacked. Sheets are aligned, edges tapped lightly against the desk until they sit evenly. Some pages are yellowed with age, others newer and stiff, but all wait quietly to be filled. The paper does not rush. It never demands attention. Pens are dipped once into ink, not to write, but to test the flow. A small mark appears on scrap paper, inspected briefly, then ignored. The pen is set down, ready for later. There is no urgency to begin. The act of preparation itself is part of the work. The room feels heavier now, not with noise or movement, but with readiness. Ink, ledgers, and paper rest together in patient stillness, prepared to absorb another day of careful writing, slow calculation, and unremarkable progress. Once everything is arranged, there is a brief pause, as if the office collectively inhales. Then, without instruction, each clerk makes the familiar journey from standing to sitting. The distance is short, yet it feels longer than it should, stretched by habit and routine. Stools are simple and hard, placed at precise distances from each desk. They have no padding and offer no comfort beyond reliability. Each one knows its owner, and each owner knows exactly how to approach it. A hand rests on the desk for balance, not out of necessity, but because it has always been done that way. The act of sitting is slow and careful. There is no sudden movement, no scraping of legs against the floor louder than necessary. Once seated, posture is adjusted slightly, never too much, until it matches the unspoken standard of correctness. Back straighten, feet find the same familiar positions, and the body settles. For a moment, nothing else happens. Clerks sit quietly, hands resting on the desk, eyes lowered. The office feels complete now, filled with still figures arranged in neat rows. It is a scene that could remain unchanged for hours without anyone noticing. This final step marks the true beginning of the workday. Everyone is in place. The stools no longer move. And the long, predictable hours ahead stretch forward calmly, waiting to be filled with careful, ordinary effort. The first sound arrives quietly, almost by accident. A pen touches paper, and a soft scratching fills the space around one desk. It is soon joined by another, and then another, until the room holds a gentle chorus of writing, steady and unhurried. No one looks up. No one acknowledges the sound. It simply becomes part of the air. Ink flows slowly, forming letters and numbers that follow familiar patterns. Lines are straight, margins are respected, and mistakes are avoided through careful attention rather than correction. Each movement of the pen is measured, as if the hand knows there is no reward for speed. The silence between strokes remains thick and calm. There is no conversation, no cough loud enough to matter, no footsteps passing through the room. Even breathing seems quieter here, restrained by the seriousness of the task. The clock continues its quiet ticking somewhere out of sight, though no one counts the seconds. Occasionally, a pen is lifted and wiped gently against blotting paper. The motion is slow and deliberate, performed exactly as it was taught. Then the pen returns to the page, and the scratching resumes, unchanged in tone or rhythm. As the morning settles fully into place, the office moves together in silence. Pens scratch, pages fill, and time drifts forward unnoticed, carrying the clerks gently deeper into another unremarkable day. As the writing continues, bodies remain carefully arranged, guided by rules that are never stated but always followed. Backs stay straight, though not rigid. Shoulders are held evenly, neither slouched nor stiff. Each clerk appears to occupy exactly the amount of space expected of them, no more and no less. When posture shifts, it does so subtly. A foot is repositioned. A shoulder relaxes and then returns to place. These movements are small enough to avoid attention, yet necessary to endure the long hours ahead. Comfort is not the goal, endurance is. Chairs are not leaned back, nor are desks leaned upon. Hands rest lightly on the surface when not writing, fingers relaxed but controlled. The body learns to hold itself in a way that suggests constant readiness, even when the task is repetitive and slow. No one instructs a clerk to sit properly. Correction comes instead through observation. A glance from across the room is enough to remind someone to straighten slightly. These reminders are silent, efficient, and quickly obeyed. In this quiet discipline, posture becomes part of the work itself. The office maintains its orderly appearance, and the clerks continue writing, supported by stillness, routine, and the calm weight of unspoken expectation. The task of copying begins without ceremony. Original letters are placed carefully to one side, their edges worn from previous handling. Fresh sheets of paper wait beside them, clean and empty, ready to receive the same words once more. Nothing new will be added. Nothing will be removed. Each sentence is transferred slowly, letter by letter. The clerk's eyes move back and forth between the original and the copy, following a rhythm learned through repetition. There is no interpretation involved, only accuracy. Even the spacing between words is preserved as closely as possible. Mistakes are rare, not because the work is difficult, but because attention is steady. When an error does appear, it is handled quietly. The page is set aside. A new sheet is drawn forward. The process begins again from the start, without complaint. These copied letters will be filed away, stored carefully, and likely never touched again. Their purpose is already fulfilled simply by existing. No clerk wonders who might read them, or when. That curiosity has long since faded. The scratching of pens continues, patient and even. Words move from one page to another, unchanged and unremarkable, as the office sinks deeper into its calm routine, content with repetition and quiet precision. Somewhere within the building, a clock marks the passing of time. It does not announce itself loudly, yet its presence is always known. Each tick is soft and steady, arriving exactly when expected, asking nothing and allowing no delay. No one looks directly at the clock very often. There is no need. The body learns its rhythm, measuring the day not by numbers, but by familiarity. Certain pages are filled by certain hours. Certain tasks belong to certain moments, though no one ever names them. The clock offers no mercy and no pressure. It moves forward at the same pace regardless of fatigue or focus. Pens do not speed up as the hours pass, nor do they slow. The work continues evenly, guided by habit rather than urgency. When a clerk pauses briefly, the clock does not notice. It continues ticking, unconcerned with individual moments of rest. In this way, it quietly controls the room, shaping the day without command. As the minutes collect into hours, the office remains unchanged. The clock keeps time. The clerks keep writing. And the gentle, unyielding movement of the day carries everyone calmly forward. As the day drifts toward its middle, a subtle heaviness settles into the room. It is not announced, and no one speaks of it, yet every clerk feels it in the same quiet way. Shoulders grow slightly tense. Hands pause a moment longer between lines of writing. There is no true comfort to be found at the desks. The stools remain hard, the air unchanged. Windows offer light but little warmth, and the office provides no relief beyond familiarity. Fatigue is accepted as part of the arrangement, something to be endured rather than corrected. Eyes lift briefly from the page, focusing on nothing in particular. The movement lasts only a second before attention returns to the ledger. Rest comes in fragments so small they barely register, scattered between lines of ink. No one stretches openly. No one complains. The rules of the space remain intact, even as energy quietly fades. Pens continue their steady motion, unchanged in pace. Midday arrives without celebration. The work does not stop, and the office does not shift. Fatigue settles in gently, like dust, becoming just another element of the long, unremarkable day. When the moment for midday eating arrives, it does so quietly, guided more by habit than by the clock itself. There is no bell, no announcement, and no visible relief. Pens are set down carefully, as if they will be needed again at any second, which they will. Small parcels of food are brought out from drawers or coat pockets. Bread, plain and firm, is unwrapped slowly. Cheese appears in modest portions, cut evenly and without excess. Everything is eaten with restraint, leaving little trace behind. Conversation does not follow. The room remains nearly as quiet as before, broken only by the soft sound of paper being folded or crumbs brushed away. Eating is treated as a necessary interruption, not a pleasure to be enjoyed. No one leaves their desk for long. The stools remain occupied, posture mostly unchanged. The pause is brief, controlled, and predictable, designed not to disrupt the rhythm of the day. When the food is finished, it is put away neatly. Hands are wiped. Pens are lifted once more. Lunchtime passes without comfort or connection, and the office returns seamlessly to its steady, patient silence. As the afternoon begins to take shape, the office air remains unchanged. The scent of paper, dry and faintly sweet, hangs quietly in every corner. It mixes with the soft dullness of dust that has settled over years, untouched by time or concern. Ink adds its own presence, sharp but familiar. Open bottles release a subtle bitterness that no one notices anymore. It clings lightly to fingers and cuffs, becoming part of the day without comment. The smell does not fade or grow stronger. It simply exists. There is no breeze to disturb the air. Windows remain closed or only slightly opened, allowing light in but keeping the atmosphere still. Each breath feels the same as the last, steady and predictable. The scent becomes a background companion, as constant as the scratching of pens or the ticking of the clock. It requires no attention, yet it defines the space completely. By now, the office feels sealed in routine. Paper, dust, and ink quietly mark the passage of time, surrounding the clerks as they continue their work, unbothered and unchanged by the slow unfolding of the afternoon. At some point in the afternoon, a supervisor passes through the room. The arrival is not dramatic. Footsteps are measured, familiar, and easily absorbed into the existing quiet. No one looks up immediately, yet everyone is aware of the movement. The supervisor pauses behind desks, observing without comment. Papers are examined with a slow glance. Handwriting is noted, not praised. The presence is calm, controlled, and entirely predictable. Nothing needs to be said. Clerks respond through posture alone. Backs straighten slightly. Pens move with a touch more care. These changes are subtle and temporary, fading as soon as the supervisor moves on. Politeness governs every interaction, even those that never fully occur. A nod may be exchanged. A brief acknowledgement offered. There are no questions, no instructions beyond what is already known. When the supervisor leaves, the room returns to its previous state. No relief is expressed. No tension lingers. Observation ends as quietly as it began, and the steady work of the office continues, unchanged and uninterrupted. The afternoon work turns toward figures that are already familiar. Columns of numbers appear once more, arranged neatly on the page, waiting to be copied again. They have been written before, checked once, and now require another careful repetition. The process is slow and deliberate. Each number is written individually, given the same attention as the last. There is no room for memory here. Even if the figures are known by heart, they must still be rewritten exactly as they appear. Occasionally, a pause occurs. A finger traces the line to ensure nothing is missed. The pen hovers briefly, then continues. Accuracy matters more than speed, and repetition is trusted over confidence. The figures do not change, no matter how often they are copied. They remain fixed and indifferent, offering no sense of completion. Finishing one page only leads to the next. As the numbers are rewritten for the third time, the office sinks deeper into routine. The task feels endless, yet perfectly contained, filling the hours with quiet purpose and steady, unremarkable effort. The light outside begins to change, though the office itself does not respond. What was once pale and steady now grows softer, stretching longer shadows across the wooden floor. The tall windows admit this change quietly, without drawing attention. Sunlight touches the edges of desks and then moves on, leaving surfaces slightly dimmer than before. Dust becomes visible for a moment as it drifts through the air, then disappears again into stillness. No one follows the movement with their eyes for long. The clerks continue writing, unaffected by the slow shift of the day. Pages are turned. Numbers are finished and begun again. The outside world feels distant, separated by glass and routine. As the light fades, the office grows more uniform in tone. Details soften. Corners blur slightly, though everything remains in its proper place. The room feels smaller, more enclosed. Afternoon slips gently toward evening. The windows darken, the work continues, and the office settles deeper into its familiar quiet, carrying the clerk steadily through the last long stretch of the day. As the hours continue, focus becomes softer and less precise. It does not disappear suddenly, but thins gradually, like light fading at the end of the day. Pens still move, though with slightly longer pauses between strokes. Eyes linger on the page a moment too long before moving to the next line. Hands rest briefly on the desk, gathering enough effort to continue. These moments are small and easily hidden, unnoticed by anyone else. The work itself does not change to accommodate this fatigue. Columns remain the same length. Letters require the same careful formation. The office offers no adjustment, only the expectation that the task will continue as before. Mistakes are avoided through patience rather than sharpness. Each line is checked slowly, sometimes twice, before moving on. Progress becomes measured not in speed, but in persistence. Despite the decline in energy, the rhythm holds. The clerks continue writing, supported by habit and repetition, carrying themselves calmly through the final working hours without complaint or resistance. Eventually, a mistake appears on the page. It is small and ordinary, no more than a number written slightly out of place or a letter formed incorrectly. The clerk notices it at once, not with frustration, but with quiet acceptance. The pen is lifted. The blotting paper is placed gently over the ink. There is no sigh, no pause long enough to be noticed. The page is corrected using the approved method, practiced so often it requires no thought. When correction is not possible, the sheet is set aside and replaced with a fresh one. No one remarks on the error. There is no record of it beyond the discarded page. The supervisor does not intervene, and nearby clerks continue their work undisturbed. Mistakes are expected, but never discussed. Once corrected, the work resumes exactly where it left off. The rhythm returns immediately, steady and calm. The error leaves no mark on the day, only a brief interruption that fades as quickly as it arrived. In this way, the office moves forward without emotion. Errors are absorbed quietly, corrected patiently, and forgotten entirely, allowing the slow, predictable flow of work to continue uninterrupted. By now, repetition has settled fully into the room. Each action follows the last in a familiar sequence that requires little thought. Write, pause, check, continue. The pattern repeats itself without variation, filling the hours with steady motion. Administrative duty offers no surprises. Forms look the same from one day to the next. Ledgers open to familiar pages. The work asks only for attention and time, nothing more. In this predictability, there is a quiet calm. Hands move almost on their own, guided by habit rather than effort. The mind drifts slightly, yet never far enough to interrupt the task. Awareness remains soft, floating just above the page. The office itself seems to encourage this state. Silence, stillness, and routine combine to dull any sense of urgency. Time stretches, unchallenged. As the afternoon deepens, the repetitive calm continues to carry the clerks forward. Administrative duty fills the day gently, asking only for presence, patience, and the willingness to do the same thing once again. From each desk, the view remains exactly the same. The edge of the tabletop, smoothed by years of resting hands, frames the lower part of the scene. Beyond it, the backs of other desks and the still figures of fellow clerks fill the room in orderly rows. Nothing in this view invites attention. There are no decorations, no personal items, no movement worth following. Even the windows appear distant, offering light without detail. The scene has been memorized through repetition. Occasionally, a head lifts slightly, not to look elsewhere, but simply to reset focus. The view does not change in response. It waits patiently, unchanged and unremarkable. The desk itself feels solid and familiar beneath resting hands. Its surface bears faint marks, reminders of countless days just like this one. These marks are not examined. They are simply part of the background. Hour after hour, the same view remains. The wooden desk, the quiet room, and the stillness ahead form a steady frame, supporting the clerks as they continue their slow, predictable work without interruption. As the day leans toward evening, the rhythm of the office changes slightly. Pens pause more often, and the soft scratching is joined by another gentle sound, the turning of pages. Each page is lifted carefully, as though to avoid disturbing the quiet that has settled so deeply. The paper makes a faint, dry whisper as it moves. It is a sound that blends easily into the room, neither loud nor distracting. Pages are smoothed down with the palm of a hand, corners aligned before the work continues. The light outside dims further, casting longer shadows that creep slowly across the desks. The pages appear a little darker now, their lines less distinct, though still readable. No lamps are lit yet. The day is allowed to fade naturally. Each turned page signals quiet progress. One section finished, another begun. There is no sense of accomplishment attached, only continuation. Near sunset, the office remains calm and orderly. Pages turn, pens move, and the final stretch of the workday unfolds gently, wrapped in fading light and steady routine. As the sun dips lower, some tasks remain unfinished. Ledgers that should be completed sit open, numbers half-written, letters partially copied. Yet no one rushes. The work continues slowly, without urgency or complaint. Clerks move deliberately, picking up pens and paper as if drawn by habit more than necessity. Every action is measured, careful, and uninterrupted. Mistakes are corrected as before, silently and efficiently. Even as light fades, there is no panic or pressure. The office expects nothing beyond persistence. Tasks do not demand completion, they simply exist to be continued, day after day, hour after hour. The quiet hum of the room carries on. Chairs scrape softly, pages whisper as they are moved, and pens scratch steadily across paper. Evening has arrived, but the pace remains unchanging, unhurried. In this slow persistence, the unfinished work becomes part of the rhythm. There is no end yet, only the patient, predictable flow of the Victorian office, stretching gently into the night. As the afternoon gives way to evening, the temperature in the office drops subtly. The air feels heavier, cooler against skin and sleeves, though no one speaks of it. The wooden floors and stone walls seem to absorb the warmth of the day, leaving only a faint chill behind. Clerks do not move to warm themselves. Coats remain on hooks, hands stay on desks, and posture remains upright. The cold is accepted quietly, becoming just another background element of the day, much like the smell of ink or the sound of scratching pens. The faint shiver that passes through shoulders is unremarkable and unacknowledged. No fire is lit, no windows closed or opened further, the office maintains its calm neutrality. Even as the air grows colder, work continues with the same gentle rhythm. Pens glide across paper, pages are turned, and numbers are copied steadily, unaffected by the subtle change in temperature. By the time dusk settles fully, the office feels quieter, smaller, and slightly colder, but it remains a place of patient routine, carrying its clerks through the final hours of the day. With the main tasks of the day mostly completed, clerks turn their attention to filing. Stacks of papers, letters, and ledgers are organized carefully, placed into drawers and cabinets in precise order. Each movement is deliberate, yet almost automatic, guided by habit rather than thought. Files are handled gently, as if the papers themselves might complain if treated roughly. Edges are aligned, covers straightened, and labels checked, though no one reads them closely. The act of filing is more about procedure than purpose, a quiet duty to maintain order. The sound of sliding drawers and shifting papers fills the office softly. It is the only movement now, besides the occasional scratching of a pen finishing minor notes. There is no conversation, no laughter, no comment, just the muted rhythm of careful organization. Even as the day winds down, clerks continue filing with the same patient indifference they have shown all day. It is a task that seems endless, yet calming in its simplicity, marking the slow passage of time toward the evening. The office remains steady, orderly, and unchanging, each document placed exactly where it belongs, until the final hours approach. As evening deepens, clerks begin their last careful inspection of the day's work. Ledgers are opened once more, pages reviewed with slow, deliberate eyes. Every number is checked, every entry glanced over, though few changes are ever necessary. Pens hover lightly, ready to mark a correction if needed, but mostly resting as the review proceeds. The motion is gentle, almost meditative, a final ritual before the day ends. Mistakes, if found, are corrected quietly, without comment or hurry. Shadows from the tall windows stretch across the desks, mingling with the yellowed pages. The office feels smaller now, the air heavier, yet calm. Each clerk moves with patience, knowing the day's work is nearly complete, but not rushing to finish. The act of reviewing ledgers is as much about closure as accuracy. It signals that the office has survived another day of repetition, of quiet effort, and of slow, steady progress. When the final entries are checked, and pages closed, there is a subtle sense of completion, not dramatic, not celebrated, just quietly acknowledged by the room itself. With the ledgers closed and the last pages reviewed, clerks turn to the simple act of putting away their pens. Each pen is lifted from the desk, wiped lightly on blotting paper if necessary, and returned carefully to its place in the inkstand or drawer. The motion is slow and deliberate. No clatter accompanies the action, the pens are set down with the same quiet precision that has governed the entire day. Hands linger briefly over the desk before moving away, as if acknowledging the tool's service. There is no conversation, no sigh of relief, no sense of hurry. The office holds its calm as pens are replaced, one by one, until each clerk has finished the final, unremarkable task of the day. In this quiet routine, the room seems to exhale slightly. The tools of the trade are returned, and the day's labor is symbolically concluded, though the silence is unchanged, and the pace remains unhurried. Even the act of putting away pens carries a rhythm of order and consistency, marking another small step toward the slow, predictable conclusion of the Victorian office day. With desks tidied, pens returned, and ledgers closed, the clerks sit quietly, waiting for the final signal of the day. There is no rush. No one stands early. Leaving the office is governed not by desire but by routine, and the unspoken authority of the supervisor. Feet remain planted on the floor, hands folded lightly on desks, posture still and patient. Eyes occasionally drift toward the doorway or the clock, though glances are brief and measured. The room seems suspended in anticipation, aware that the end is near but not yet present. No one speaks, no one moves unnecessarily. The waiting itself has become part of the day's rhythm, a silent acknowledgement that even idle moments have their place in the predictable flow of office life. Minutes pass slowly, unnoticed. The office hums softly with residual energy, the faint scratch of a pen finishing minor notes, the rustle of papers settling, the quiet shuffle of someone adjusting their coat. Finally, the unspoken permission arrives, a nod, a glance, a signal understood without words. Until then, the clerks remain in patient stillness, letting time stretch gently, as always, in the calm embrace of the Victorian office. Tea last, the clerks rise from their stools, carrying only what they brought in, a coat, a hat, or a small bundle of papers. The movement is slow and deliberate, each step measured against the quiet that fills the office. As they walk toward the door, the wooden floors beneath their boots give a soft echo, gentle and steady. Each footstep is amplified by the emptiness around them, a faint rhythm marking the end of the day. No one hurries. The hallways are narrow and familiar, lined with the same doors and windows seen every morning. Shadows from the late afternoon light stretch long and still along the walls, guiding the clerks toward the exit. The office behind them remains perfectly silent once the last figure has passed through. Only the echoes linger, fading gradually until the corridors are entirely still. In this quiet, measured departure, the day comes to its natural close. The work is finished, the clerks are gone, and the Victorian office waits patiently for another day to arrive, unchanged and calm. With the last clerks gone, the office grows still in a way that is different from before, heavier, quieter, and completely empty. A key turns slowly in the lock, the familiar metallic click echoing briefly before settling into silence. Drawers and cupboards are secured. Pens are capped and stored. Ledgers lie closed, their pages holding the weight of numbers and words that will not be touched again until tomorrow. Every object rests exactly where it belongs, as it always has. The day itself seems to vanish once the doors are shut. The sounds, the motions, the faint rhythm of routine, all fade into memory, leaving only the hushed atmosphere of the empty room. No one speaks. No one notices. The office, having fulfilled its purpose for another day, holds itself in patient quiet, unaware and unconcerned with the passage of time. In this way, the Victorian office forgets the day as easily as it endured it, waiting silently for morning to arrive and the routine to begin anew. Outside, the clerks move slowly through the streets, their footsteps soft against the cobblestones. Hands are tired from hours of careful writing, eyes adjusted to the dimming light, and minds carrying only the gentle echo of the day's monotony. Coats are pulled closer, scarves adjusted, and hats tilted just so. The chill of the evening brushes against their faces, a subtle reminder that the workday has ended and the journey home has begun. No conversation flows, no one hurries. Each person walks in quiet reflection, aware of the repetitive patterns of office life, yet comforted by their predictability. The city itself is calm, streets mostly empty, carrying only faint sounds from distant shops and homes. The journey is slow and steady, giving time for thought, or perhaps for none at all. Fatigue and routine blend together, allowing the clerks to arrive at home with a quiet mind and a body ready to rest. By the time they reach their doors, the day has fully concluded. Hands are still, eyes soften, and the predictable rhythm of Victorian office life leaves only a gentle sense of completion. As night settles fully over the city, the Victorian office stands empty and silent. Desks are aligned, pens stored, ledgers closed, and drawers locked. The room seems to breathe quietly, untouched yet entirely familiar, as if it has existed this way forever. The workday, with all its repetition, errors corrected without comment, and endless routines, is complete, but not truly finished. Tomorrow, the same motions will return. The turning of keys, the scratching of pens, the careful alignment of papers. Nothing will change. The office itself does not know of time or fatigue. It waits patiently for the familiar rhythm to resume, offering no surprise, no rush, only the calm certainty of repetition. And so, the cycle continues. A day of quiet monotony, filled with routine and stillness, ending each evening as it began, ready to repeat without variation, carrying its clerks gently through the gentle, predictable world of Victorian office life. The room sleeps now, as do those who belong to it, resting quietly before the slow, unchanging day begins once again.